Good day, and welcome to episode 33 of the Aaron Wayne podcast. Here we go, guys. Good chat with the lady. We're outside Crater Lake right meow, and just chat about what we were up to, what we're doing. Talked about bear spray and whether it does or doesn't work. And then we got into the tail end of this pretty heavy conversation about climate change and having kids. So if you're into it, drop in, stay tuned, and let's do it. Now it's recording.
Hi.
My cell phone has 10% battery left.
Oh no, mine
and
too.
I've got notes on here.
Oh no.
Oh, and it was telling me it like had the audio. Oh, this is like the mic check. It started doing like an audio. It says,
mic check.
"Talk to me like you're gonna talk to. Are you gonna lean back like
I
that?"
am
No,
gonna
it's
lean
totally
back.
fine.
No,
I
I
just
like
got to
that.
change the audio levels. Check mic check. 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1.
That's my mic check.
That's funny, man. So the notes that I have.
Yeah.
So before today's podcast, I said to Katie, "Why don't you take a handful of notes,
And I did.
and I'll take some notes."
And I had previous notes.
And you had previous notes. And so the notes that I have for the podcast is the first thing I wrote was blowing it into USB devices. And the reason that that was an issue was because there was crazy static on your mic. And so we've been in these super dusty areas. Like right now, where are we? We're outside of Crater Lake.
Yeah, beside Diamond Lake.
By Diamond Lake and some like public land stuff. And it's super
really
dusty.
Everything's really dusty. Like, I don't know how we'll fare once we're back and everything's really grassy.
I think great.
I'm excited for it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, all of our hikes, too, have been really, like, dirt sand.
So I
Like
posted something. I
sand.
posted something on Instagram there was. You remember when we got that really good view today when we decided to, instead of driving up to Crater Lake,
Because why would we do that?
because why would we do that? And that's actually in my notes. We parked 3 miles like at the bottom of Crater Lake and then hiked up 3 miles to like
So
have
we
Crater Lake
did
be the view. You know, the
6-mile hike today.
So we did a 6 mile hike.
Plus a mile with the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And then 0.25 around the lake, I guess, when we were walking, because we did a total of 7.25 miles.
And the views were
That's
awesome.
important
The hike was really
because
pretty.
I won a bet.
What bet did you win?
The bet was that I was able to tell that we had half of a mile left,
Mm-hmm.
and you said we had 2/10 of a mile left.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet, and I was right.
And you were right. And you decided that you're going to make a book.
I think that the theme of this trip has been Aaron thinks he's right way more than he is, and Katie is right way more than he thinks she is.
That's totally true. Yeah, you're definitely right more often than I think you're right.
Also, I think what you don't understand is, like, I don't normally say things unless I think, like, you say things to kind of just talk them through.
That's why I have a podcast.
Yeah, where I'm more like, I'll keep it to myself until I feel like I'm correct.
And then
I'll express myself.
if you say something, you mean it.
Yeah.
Whereas when
Say something, I mean it.
you mean it. Whereas when
You
I
just
say
say
something, I
something.
just sort of say things. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to figure out. But back
Unless it's like we're having food or
Mhm.
something like that, and then I'm just like shouting options at you.
to...
We
Yeah.
could do Thai, but really, we could always do Thai.
We could always do
Thai
Thai.
is always the answer.
I think that's what we're going to make for the family beach vacation. Let's make some
Pad
Thai.
Thai?
Yeah, I was talking to Mom today.
Mm.
Yeah. Most of the people listening to this podcast don't know my mom. But my mom's a sweet lady.
And we have,
And she does like we do a beach trip every year,
so
and
Pad Thai is going to be our meal.
a person / couple makes dinner each night, which is like actually a really cool tradition.
We could do
of-
those spring rolls too, but that's a lot of ingredients for
The spring
multi-
rolls would,
It's just hard.
but the spring rolls would also be a very cool experience to bring people into the cooking.
Everyone would need to wash their hands.
Yeah, people will wash their hands,
Can we
but
have a station?
yeah, we'll have a hand washing station, and then I could chop
That
up
would
the
be
veg,
fun,
and then
I'll
it would
make a
be
dip.
playful. The kids would love it. It would be
Chris will be eating cucumbers left
communal
and right.
cooking.
So cute. Yeah, we could do that as the appetizer. Like, we'll make the pad thai
Mhm.
and kind of have that, and then make your own spring roll bar.
Mm-hmm.
That That's so fun.
Isn't that fun? It's so fun. It's a white girl Instagram.
Yeah, we'll do that. So we need to get. And are we like doing a meal where it's like all the money that we had from our weight loss competition?
Oh yeah, I got a bunch of money in a Cash
It
app.
wasn't really weight loss. It was more
Fitness. Yeah, we had a family fitness
The
fiasco
goal was
is what we
not weight
called
loss,
it.
because the goal shouldn't be weight loss. The goal should be
Should be about fitness, and we're
healthy
dropping down like
lifestyle.
4 points in my notes. So let me finish the point I was saying earlier. We're
Sorry.
talking about dust. I posted on my Instagram a picture of the trail that we were on, and my good friend Logan, who is like a distance runner, and his
Yeah.
fiance, like she's like a really accomplished distance runner, and he said, "Oh my God, I want to go there. Like I want to run those trails."
Oh.
And I thought that was really sweet and it was really cool.
But
And
it's so like I have a dust line.
oh, for sure, yeah,
On
you have a
every pair
legit.
of socks. You can't reuse socks because they're black. You guys can't see this, but there's like legitimately a
It might pick up
line
for
of
you, too.
dust. There's a line of dust where my foot.
But the
and my
point he
ankle is.
made,
Yes, sorry.
which was interesting to me, was you think about like right now we're just kind of hanging out at 6,000 feet. We're like
Oh,
five or
We've
6,000
gotten
feet.
super used to elevation too. We're gonna be beasts
Oh.
when we get back.
Beast mode. And so you think about a lot of these cats that live out here and train out here, and they're training at elevation, which is really good for cardiovascular fitness. But the point he made is that when Western runners come east, the mountains are very different. And so we even were reflecting today that it was going to be interesting to go back to grass and rock
So
on our hikes, whereas here it's so much sand and
and you don't really have
packed
to
dirt.
contend with like I could trip and fall over
Yeah,
this
it's
knotty
way-
root.
so it's
Or
way
these
way more
rocks.
technical. It's way more like it's rootier, it's rockier, and it's just
But sometimes
harder
the
in
sand
that
is
way.
hard for me to like get moving in.
Well,
you
it
know?
and the sand increases your cardiovascular fitness. Like it like it's harder to hike in sand
harder.
and to run in sand.
I mean, what we're saying is we're super fit now, guys.
So the point that I have in my notes, I wrote down: fitness dictates your experience.
Very true.
And something I've been thinking about, I think about it frequently when we go into public spaces, public outdoor
We've been
spaces.
thinking about it a lot.
And like I think I've talked about it. I talked about it in the podcast that you and I did.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was episode 31, and then episode 32 when I did the solo podcast while you were cooking dinner. I kept like trying to figure this idea out. And the thing that I keep coming to, and I look at all of the people that I know in my life, and I think the fitness, like so I teach yoga,
Mm-hmm.
and we know a lot of people who are really like into fitness. You know, we know a lot of people who aren't into fitness
Yeah.
or wellness. And I think about both of those categories, and I think about how your fitness, whether you do or don't have it, should be a tool to experience life.
Yes.
That the hike we did today was really pretty and beautiful, but the reason we were able to do that is because
because of
we've
our
cultivated
fitness
a
level.
level of fitness that allows us to just go hike 8
Yeah, and
miles
that's
at the drop
kind
of a hat.
I think that's what motivates me to be fit, because often like I got really in shape before our trip because I was like I don't want for my fitness level to dictate
You were
what
training.
we're capable to do.
You're training.
I was training.
She was carrying backpacks and sandbags.
I wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
But I
She's
was,
waking
like-
up at 4 a.m, getting sprayed in
Okay,
the
it
face with a
wasn't that
hose by
intense.
a Marine.
No, but I
Have
was
you ever
like,
seen those videos of those Marines during Buds or Navy SEAL? I don't know I don't know enough about this,
What are
but
Buds?
I think it's SEALs. Buds is their training camp, and you know,
talk about the
you know,
SEALs.
flutter kicks. We'll talk about the SEALs. You know, flutter kicks.
Mhm.
They'll be laying on their back in the surf doing flutter kicks while waves are crashing over their
That
face.
sounds awful.
I know that you know it's awful because that's
And
what
I
you
was
did to
doing-
train for this
I was doing it.
summer trip.
I was doing it every day.
Yeah. What about the SEALs?
Uh,
Is that in your
so-
notes?
Yeah, it's in my notes, but did we talk about where we came? I guess we're on track, because after our podcast, we were in the Redwoods, and that was beautiful. We stayed the night there.
At the
That
lagoon.
was the last podcast we did. And then we hiked. What did we hike at the Redwoods? Oh, Oh,
we just sort of
found that,
moseyed.
off
We
the
drove and
trail.
moseyed. Like, we just kind of like went through their parkway
they
and like,
had-
oh, that looks cool.
And they had
It's
that cool area where we saw big tree.
big tree. You see all these trees out here out west, and not out west generally, but in these old growth forests, and they have names.
I like that.
General
one was
Sherman,
just
General
named
Grant.
Big tree.
All these different tree
America's
names.
Christmas tree.
Yeah, America's Christmas tree, and this one was just quote, and they put quotation marks on the sides.
Big.
It was quote
Big
tree.
So we saw a big tree, and then we drove up the Oregon coast. And where did we stay that night?
I think that was the beach night.
No.
I think it was. So apparently Oregon has some really cool rules
Yes.
that you can park
Wait.
in rest stops for up to 12 hours. And then also on the side of the road, you can like park pretty freely.
So
There's
we
nobody out here. If
But-
you were to reflect on thinking about Crater today,
I need to
think of
think
how
this
many
through.
people we saw at Crater. I'll
There's
just
a
you
drone.
think this through, and
There's a drone.
there's a drone.
Yeah.
Drones aren't legal in national parks.
High up. I didn't think they could go.
How
that
far? How
Look,
what?
he's past the trees.
All right, try to guide me.
He's right there.
Oh, that's a drone.
That's a
Hey, we're doing a
drone.
podcast, buddy.
So hold on. I need to think this through. Before
We should
move
film this whole
forward.
thing on a drone.
We went to the Redwoods and we stayed at the lagoon. And then we drove down and we hiked Big Tree.
Mm-hmm.
And then we drove along the coast.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the night that we stayed
Yep.
on the highway pull off.
I'm pretty sure. Because that was 2 nights ago.
That's crazy. Because when was
Why
the
is that
day
crazy?
we saw the seals?
We saw the seals.
Or the sea lions?
We saw
Are
the
they
sea
same
lions.
thing? I don't know.
I don't know the distinction between. Yeah, I don't know the difference between the two. I think we saw them
The morning of the Redwoods?
no, it was the next morning. It
But
was
then no, because the next morning...
no, because I went for a run on the beach
Yeah,
and we weren't
that's when
in a
we did that.
rush.
And then
I
we
don't know.
drove
It's
to
all.
Coos Bay.
I don't think
No,
I don't
have to
think
about
chronology is
this.
actually
It's very
relevant. I think
important
it's.
for me because I don't like it when my memory.
You know what I was thinking about today?
lapses.
I was thinking about while we were at Diamond Lake. I was reflecting on past trips that we've done and the handful of memories that I have from that. And what I'm interested to know is what it is that I remember in
Like
like
what
graphic
sticks
detail.
out.
Like what
Yeah.
what do I look back? Because there's so many like little things that when you do any long-term
Yes.
travel that just
Yeah.
like go by the wayside, even if they're cool. Like this is a cool campground. I like this. I like this.
So we might not.
It's not even a
remember
campground.
it.
It's like in the middle of these
It's like a s-
these pines.
Yeah.
It's just public land, and this is really cool. And on any average weekend, living back home in Virginia, I'd be like, oh, this is amazing. This is really nice. But
yeah,
you become so accustomed to doing different things
you do.
that you forget a lot of the really cool things.
You do.
So
I'm
I'm
gonna-
interested to see what's in my graphic memory of what we
Yes.
did this trip.
I agree, and I'm gonna have to take a second and look.
So while Katie takes a
Where
second,
is
I brought up the
see your
point.
phone
I
really
brought up
quick?
the point earlier of blowing into USB drives because there's so much
Sure.
dust out here. And every time that I start up a podcast, first thing, I actually don't remember how I set 2 microphones up in GarageBand, and I have to relearn how to do it every time. But I figured it out, and I figure it out every time. On top of that, now that everything's been so dusty, and like the van has like a coat of dust on it. If you're seeing this on YouTube, like our van has like yellowed because of all the dust we've been taking in. And I had to blow into the USB ports of my MacBook like it's a Nintendo 64 cartridge. Speaking of which,
I have news.
Nintendo 64, I have news.
Okay.
I have news.
Okay.
Nintendo 64 just had, I think its 30th anniversary a week or 2 ago.
Really? That's as old as us.
Yeah, maybe 20th anniversary.
Okay, can I tell you my breaking news?
Yeah.
Okay, breaking news. So we
Breaking
stayed
news.
at the lagoon after Tahoe. We drove to the Redwoods. We stayed at the lagoon. Then we hiked Big Tree. Then that same day
Mm-hmm.
is when I saw the loves of my life.
You look through the pictures
Yes,
to find that?
and I fact checked with the dates.
the
that's the
excitement that you
same
had
day.
seeing some sort of aquatic
was
pup
quite
was it was either
possibly-
sea lions or seals. I don't know. We just saw their heads popping out, and the excitement that you had
It was so cool.
on
It
another
was
level.
So cool.
Yeah.
So Sunday we wake up, we hike along the Redwood National State Park. It's very confusing. Closer
My
to
phone.
me?
No, my phone. Come
Oh,
my phone
I
back.
said closer to me. It's confusing because it's like on the highway, kind of, basically. Not the highway, but like a byway or whatever you would call it.
The Redwoods State and National Park was
everywhere.
definitely not as well maintained as other national parks. It was more of a
But it was also
it was almost more of a
big.
roadside attraction. So like if you were to reflect on the amount of carvings that we saw in
Yeah,
trees,
really sad. It wasn't
um,
as like, I don't know, like I feel like
it's
when
not as
we
well
go-
regulated. Like
Yeah.
I think if you had
Like at no point did we show anyone a pass.
showed no passes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And that might be honestly that goes back to the conversation we were having before about accessibility.
That's true.
Like should this just be open?
But
And like it's free public
open
land, but it's not
natural space
really
is
free public
good.
land. Like you have to pay admission to get to the public land. We pay $80 a year for
No big deal.
no big deal. We can afford it.
Clearly.
To go into all the national parks and not get hassled about like day use fees.
Yeah.
But-
it's worth it if you go to a lot
But
of
we
them.
got no there
That was-
nobody was
It was really
nobody checked a
pretty,
badge,
though,
nobody-
that area.
it
But
was
then we
pretty.
drove the Oregon
But
Trail
how long is it
back.
going to be pretty if
That's
they just like, oh, you can just come up and, you know, carve your name in a tree and carve your name in a
That's crazy. It feels like we did
1500-year-old
10
tree.
things that day. Because we did the redwoods, then I saw the loves of my life,
The loves of your life.
and then that's where we parked, and then I got on top of the van.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing the sea lions, seals, we're not sure. It was so cool.
Because
Because the beach that we found, like you took us down this random road, and I was like, this is not going to be anything. And we parked, and like the beach was super isolated.
see, this
like,
needs to
no
go.
one
This
was
so in
there.
your book,
Okay.
that you're writing about how you've been right about so many things, you need to.
There have been some things.
Is your
that
phone
have been
close
good.
to the
Oh, it is. Sorry.
That was
Sorry,
another
guys.
note that I wrote.
Sorry, guys.
called cell phone fuzz?
Katie.
I don't know if you guys remember back
Sorry.
in the day, if you had your phone near.
Yeah, why is
A
it doing
speaker.
that? What is this?
Well, I think that's just not a great microphone. Yeah, and I think that it doesn't like stop the frequency of your cell phone from disturbing it. But so we recorded an entire podcast with your cell phone underneath the microphone, and this is like
It's
maybe
easier to see the
4
notes
episodes
that
back,
way.
and it was the whole thing was. Zzz.
Okay, but the sea lions,
Mhm.
seals.
Mhm.
It was like a super isolated beach area. We were the only ones walking. Layla and Naish, as Bark Rangers, they've made an oath
They've
that
made
they
a
do not. They are always
solemn
on leash.
oath.
But this area, there was no one there, and it wasn't like a natural wildlife.
No, it was just Oregon
area.
coast, like
So
just spots.
they were able to get off of their leashes, and Naish is never allowed off of his leash because he's a wild coyote. And he
and we saw that in full display.
like he ran into the water after a bird to a point where it was like really cute, and then we were like, oh my gosh, is he like gonna go into the ocean?
It's
never
definitely
to be
not
seen again?
characteristic of him. He's not a
So-
water dog.
I'm like trying to get him, and then I look into the water and I was like, that looks like a head.
What is that?
What is that? And then I see it again, and then I see it again. And it was seals.
It was or
Sea lions. I don't
Sea
I don't
lions.
know
It was
the
a water
difference.
pup of
If
some
you know
sort.
The difference, let me know. But they look like little dogs, and it was just.
they look
and they
astonishingly
were
like
curious,
dogs.
And they were playing.
They were super
and
curious.
It was just me and them there.
They were
and it
hopping
was like-
around,
I had a
and
moment.
nobody was on the beach.
Nobody was on the beach. It was so
Super
sad.
desolate beach.
And like
It was
we-
more of a lagoon.
They were
There
like
was a
coming
sandbar, and there was a
closer.
river. It was like a river delta.
It was so,
Like the river was emptying into the ocean.
it was so cool.
And there's a sandbar that had like created this embankment, and they're probably there because
healthy.
they're all they prey on, it's definitely clean, it's probably clean water, but they prey on fish, but they are also preyed upon by
So they're safer
by
there.
sharks and whales.
Mhm.
So
there were no sharks there.
orca come after them.
It was interesting being on the coast though, because like when we think of beach, I think of heat. And
You think of like Memorial Day style. Let's pop up a tent. We're gonna be here for 5 hours.
Like, we're gonna sit here. But like the Oregon coast, like, you're not doing that. A, because the wind, it will blow everything that you.
Oh, you're not
down
putting a tent up
in 0.5 seconds.
Yeah.
And B, it's like
I wonder
cold.
if
Like,
that's
I had a sweater
characteristic
on.
of the beach inherently, or if it was the time of day and season we were coming through.
It wasn't as windy at the first place.
Dude, how about that lighthouse?
Yeah. So the next day, so we stayed where we had that cool view.
Mhm.
I was able to get onto the van on top,
Mhm.
which was really cool. And then the next day we drove, and we stopped at the lighthouse. Another random pull off
Mhm.
of yours.
That's what I'm saying.
And it was the windiest wind I've ever felt. Like, I thought Nish was gonna blow away.
Yeah. Layla loved it.
Layla and you loved it.
We were romping around, playing in the wind. I unzipped my jacket all except the bottom of the jacket to create a
And
sail and
Nish
leaned
got
into it.
in, and then I got in pretty quickly after him.
I leaned in at like, so 90 degrees is straight up, 45 is halfway. I was leaning at like 70 degrees.
Yeah,
Leaning with no meaning.
we were leaning with no meaning.
So,
It was cool. And it was like we were like in the ocean. Like, we were as far as you could get. Except for
in this state,
There's
the
one
only
other
place,
place.
the only place on the west coast of the United States that goes farther west is Olympia National Park. It's a national park.
Olympia National Park, you think?
It might be Olympia
We
National
didn't go
Park,
there.
but it's in the
gonna have to add
farthest
that to our
northwest
list.
region of the United States,
Okay.
and that's in Washington. But excluding that,
That's
we were farthest longitudinally
go us.
than any other spot.
Go us.
So it's like number 2,
Yeah.
and it was right at that lighthouse.
I don't like to be number 2.
I don't like to be number 2
No,
either.
like part of me is like, okay, well, we need to go there next.
Go
like,
put in 600 miles. Go up the.
Yeah, so the Oregon coast was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ended up staying at that park. Then, like, we drove through Coos Bay,
Mm-hmm.
and then we ended up staying at that park where we met our van friends. If you're
Oh, yeah.
listening, van friends,
Oh yeah, they said they were gonna start listening to the
Yeah.
podcast.
it
Yeah,
was nice to meet you.
Brian and Ruth. I think.
Ruth, I remember the name.
Brian and Ruth, I think.
Are you sure it's Brian? Then?
I think it is.
You
yeah.
took a picture of their Instagram handle, like, on your phone.
They just
They were
started doing
lovely.
van style travel, and they were super
Super nice,
enthusiastic and happy and
wonderful.
good vibes.
So we hiked, and we thought we might have to fight off the cougars there, but we
Mhm.
didn't.
Yeah, Brian and Ruth.
Brian and Ruth. It was nice. And then the next day, we drove to Willamette Valley.
Yeah, the wineries were cool. I enjoyed checking out wineries. The wine was good. The view was good. We were feeling good. It was sun was out.
It was fun.
Just good vibes.
And it was warm again. Like, the coast was really cold,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, like, I was like, okay, like, I get it, but it's summer. So,
Yeah, I
like,
remember.
I want it to
I remember
be
walking
warm
up the beach with
again.
you and thinking, like, what? Are we gonna feel heat again? Like, I
Yeah.
sort of want heat
and
again.
really, it was only
But
like
this is a
3
good balance
days.
right here at Crater
This
Lake.
is really nice.
It was
like,
probably
I'm not
85
hot at all
today.
right now.
Yeah, and we're in the shade, so it
Yeah,
feels
like,
nice
I'm
and
not
mellow.
hot at all. So
So.
that's good, because I don't want to have, like, scorching heat.
Yeah, I'm
It
done with
started
that.
to get kind of cold.
I'm done with the desert heat.
But the Willamette Valley was really nice, and then we
Mhm.
drove and we
It
stayed.
looked astonishingly like
It
Virginia.
was very, like, I understand
The only
why.
distinction between those two regions is the trees, because we live in a deciduous forest and this is a
Especially-
coniferous forest.
Especially, like, the area of Virginia where all the wineries are. Like, it
And where
looked
we
very much
where
like
we
that.
live,
Yeah.
it's a bit rockier where we
Yeah,
live.
Yeah.
It's a bit more, mountainous and rocky, but
But it was really pretty, and it was fun. We had fixed bread. I tried tapenade.
olive tapenade.
It wasn't that bad. I did.
It wasn't that
miss-
bad. You ate almost all of
I
it.
know, I liked it.
You loved it.
I
You
did
loved
like
it.
I
You're not an olive person.
No, I think I would have really liked it if I had, like, some like vegan cheese,
Mm-hmm.
and then put a little tapenade on top of that,
Mm-hmm.
like a little
That
something
makes sense.
to calm it down.
Yeah.
But it was good. And the fig spread needed cheese too, but there was no vegan cheese to be found.
So something interesting about Crater Lake that just came to my mind is the first time we saw Crater Lake, I was so stunned. I was so stunned by Crater Lake.
Do you feel like we've seen too many cool things?
I think, and we talked about this last time we did this trip, where there's a fatigue of, yeah, that's really cool.
It's just like everything
like, all right,
is
let's keep
so
driving.
cool.
Yeah.
But there are times, where were we, where I was like, just when I thought I couldn't see anything else. And then I'm like back into like amazement mode. Like the Oregon coast was not like what I had seen before.
Yeah.
And I found that again where I'm like, oh my gosh, look out the window.
But
like,
that's cool. Yeah.
but there,
Like rediscovered that.
yeah.
The newness, the freshness of it. The Oregon coast looks astonishingly like Maine.
It does look very much like Maine.
In fact, I even said something like,
And it kind of felt like
Yeah.
Maine when we were hiking too.
yeah, it feels a lot like Maine,
It
which
was
is interesting. I wonder if that's a latitude thing.
Ooh.
I wonder if they're on similar latitudes.
Perhaps. I definitely want to go back to Acadia. Like, I don't know when, but that will definitely be like a week or a 2 week long trip when we have kids.
Acadia's a cool trip, man.
It was really
Acadia's
cool.
a really cool trip.
I'm trying to keep up with my notes, babe. So we stayed.
The only note that I have left,
Okay, I got it.
the notes that I don't have them pulled up, but I remember the notes that I had was blowing into USB drives to get sand out of them,
So
like
different
a
than mine.
like a Nintendo thing.
Uh-huh.
What's my podcast, Katie? You just type this.
I'm just here
These
for
are
the
the
ride.
these are hot button topics I talk about.
Okay.
Blowing into a USB drive, buzz from a cell phone.
Weird. No.
Are these weird notes?
No wonder you told me to take notes.
The third one I'm gonna skip because I'm gonna talk. That's what we'll talk about next. The fourth one was fitness dictates your experience.
Okay.
Because I think that's totally true.
Okay.
If you can stay healthy and well
Yeah.
for as long as you possibly
Stay
can,
healthy,
you'll be
stay
able
movable.
to just live more life
Yeah.
in different
Stay
ways.
mobile.
Stay mobile. The third one that I skipped was bear spray.
Okay, but before bear spray, can we just put a bow on? We're at Crater Lake and Diamond Lake right now,
Mm-hmm.
and we did the hike. I guess we already talked about this. We did.
We
the
don't have to
hike,
run the whole
but I
itinerary. We
just
can
feel
talk about like
you know
ideas
me,
and
I'm
like
very like type A.
yeah. We don't have to like
Okay, so
bullet
bear
point
spray.
schedule. Like we don't
Another
have to do
thing
that.
I'm right about and you're wrong about.
Were you strongly pro bear spray?
Pro bear spray. No, but I did think that it was a useful tool.
It seems like such a scam to me.
It does seem very, I don't know, it seems like you think you know nature, so you bring your bear spray, but you really don't know nature at all.
Exactly.
Like, it's a very, like, newbie thing to do. I
Yeah,
feel like.
it's like it seemed like such a rookie move.
But we have been in places where I definitely thought there were bears.
Yeah, and
Is there a bear behind me? Like, I feel like you're looking behind me a
no,
lot, and it's scaring
no,
me.
it's okay.
Is it going to eat me?
If a bear were to charge you right now,
I'd be so mad because
What I
you
would
could just be
do-
like, run, and I could get in the van.
what I would do,
Just get in the van. I would get in the van.
I'd pause the podcast.
Why would you pause it? That's a wasted time.
Well, I don't want that on film.
I think that the audience would like it.
For us to get bared,
Well, we would
You ever
just
seen
get
Grizzly
in the
Man?
van. We would literally, I would grab Naish, I would go this way, you would say, Layla, now, and she would go, and then you would run in, slam the door closed, we're safe.
safe and safe. And if
Do
we
you
had
feel
bear,
like there's a bear behind me?
there's not. Is there a bear behind me?
Yes! Layla! She's like, I'm not a bear. I'm a dog.
The tiny little black bear.
My name's Layla.
She kind of looks. Oh no! Now she's
I'm
up.
sorry.
You roused the bear.
Lay down, bear.
You can't wake the bear up.
So we're thinking about getting bear spray, but also the thing that scares us.
Bear
most-
spray's legit. So the reason that I've come around on the bear spray is I was listening to a podcast with a hunter and outdoorsman, and it just coincidentally they were talking about the Yellowstone
Yeah.
region and the greater Yellowstone area,
which we're going to, and we were
which
like,
we're going to be there in like I don't know 5 days,
3,
something
4
like that.
days. We were like, we can do so much like backcountry stuff now.
I wanted to use the skills that we've talked about on previous podcasts of, I just, like today, we came up Crater
Yes.
Lake on a
And we
trail
were just like, let's
that
do this.
it wasn't
There was no one
advertised. It was
there.
like,
so
there's a trail network
fun.
here. And
Yeah.
and I saw it on a map, like that I
Yes.
downloaded.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be awesome. Like it was beautiful views, beautiful hike, really mellow,
That's right.
mildly challenging, but
It was
not
challenging,
insanely
the
hard.
incline.
And so I wanted to use all of those same skills in Yellowstone. And then
So
I listened to
big.
this podcast, and apparently there were
Like-
2 bear attacks in the last month in
No, I
Yellowstone.
thought they said like 100 people have been killed.
No, they have
That's a
not said
gross
100 people have been
overestimate.
killed.
Okay, what did he say about 100 then? Wasn't 100 one of the
So
100 sightings? I bet
no,
No.
I think what you're thinking is about the bears that they collared.
they collared 100 bears. Okay.
No, they collared 15 bears,
Then where did I get the number 100?
and they got good data back from 7 of those bears,
Yes.
grizzlies.
Yes.
And in the span of it, like you have to fact check these numbers. Like don't take the video just cut off.
That's why we have to pause.
I'm gonna
right?
pause this. Mike's hot.
Okay, my mic is hot, and I would like the record to state that there has just been a Katie is right, Aaron is wrong moment. Hot, fresh news. Naish went inside, and Aaron was like, I think he wants to go to sleep. And I said, no, he's looking for water. I know what he does. He's looking for water. And so Aaron brings him back out. What does he immediately do? Takes a sip of water.
Takes tiny little doggo sips. So we were talking about bear spray,
Okay, so the question...
and I don't know where we left off
I
with
think
that.
the biggest question is, are we going to purchase bear spray or no? Because we're going to be in a
I don't want to
place
spend
tomorrow where we can
$38
spend
on
money.
bear spray if...
Layla, drop it. What
she got?
is that? Drop it.
Oh, no.
She's going to...
Drop it. What you got?
Make her puke it up.
Go.
What was it?
No idea. It's probably like deer poop or something.
It looked like a piece of, like, jerky. So we can just only hope that it was jerky?
Get in here.
No, don't. She's going to puke it up in there.
Go. Up.
Now she's just going to eat my
It's the
food.
worst podcast.
Okay.
It's still recording.
Are we or are we not getting bear spray?
I don't know if we're going to get bear spray.
Okay. I do want to get my bucket hat tomorrow. Oh my gosh, something you own is covered in dirt over there.
Oh, that's my hard drive. That's my external hard drive. It's supposed to be a waterproof case, so let's see if it's dust proof. Because Layla buried
you
it.
better not be eating our food.
No, she already got a piece of jerky or elk poop. I'm not sure. Whatever it was, she ate it. She's like,
Just breathing heavy. All right, guys. Tomorrow we go to Bend. He's just trying to get the rest of what she left behind.
he's like, there's jerky over there. He's jerking me around here.
I think we need to wrap it up.
We wrapping the podcast?
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to get bear spray.
Okay.
So here, let's punchline this.
Okay. Bear spray.
Punchline, bear spray is effective, according to an outdoor expert that I
You should
heard
get
on a
it.
podcast. It
You
is
should get it.
effective. The reason I thought it wasn't effective
You
is
thought
because,
it would, like, mace us.
yeah, well, it's definitely going to mace us. We're definitely...
But at least we maced the bear in the process.
Exactly.
Oh.
I was thinking about it today while I was hiking. Is your phone near the microphone?
No, not at all.
I was thinking today on our hike that a skunk has spray, porcupine has quills. Certain bugs, if you eat them, they're very bitter and
Mhm.
distasteful.
Humans
and
are just tasty.
Humans are just delicious. But we've evolved because our brains are what they are
We're smarter.
to create bear spray. And so bear spray
That was
apparently is
astute.
effective. And so in my head, I was thinking, you're going to have a bear that's going to charge you, and you're going to spray at it, and it's going to be like, I don't care.
Ah.
I don't care. I'm a bear. I'm going to eat you. And then while you're being mauled by a bear, you're
can't see.
like sneezing. You know?
That would be the
You're like-
least of my worries at this point.
Yeah, but so as it turns out, though, it is
Get bear
effective.
spray.
Bear spray and
So-
a pistol is what they say.
Oh.
So you
I
got to
don't
have a
know if we're
firearm
gonna be
with you.
spending a lot
If
of
you're
time
in deep
in the
country.
back
But
country
I
of
think
Yosemite.
that I'm not,
I think we're gonna hang out in Yosemite for like a day or two.
I don't think I'm comfortable enough to put myself.
I'm not.
And I've seen a lot of beautiful wilderness that doesn't have that
Bears.
high risk of bear.
I agree.
And I think that
completely.
so many people go through Yellowstone. Like that's why there was 2 attacks this
And
summer.
it's just silliness.
Is there's so many
They
people
don't know
and
what they're doing.
they're leaving food. This goes back to the conversation we had 2 podcasts ago. It's like how accessible should these outdoor spaces be?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that are, leaving
Playing all willy-nilly.
coolers behind their truck. They're leaving food scraps, all these different
Well, and
things
you think
that are
about
just
it,
bad bear practices.
Another thing I think about is
And
like,
then
when we're
they get
eating-
hungry and they want to eat people.
Yeah. Like when we're eating, if we drop crumbs, we pick them up. And I think about people who like have no experience in the out of doors who would just
Mhm.
be like we watch that guy like flick his plate of
Oh,
his
yeah.
crumbs onto the ground.
Yeah.
So think of how many people are doing that and the bears are like, ooh, crumbs.
Well, yeah. And it's the smells are attracting them for
Yeah.
sure. The big thing when it comes to crumbs is that crumbs feed rodents and rodents breed the desire for snakes to be
least favorite
there.
thing.
And so I love cute little critters that run around. Like I love to see
Squirrels.
chipmunks and squirrels and like all these different
Prairie
like
dogs.
prairie dogs. All these different little rodents. I enjoy seeing them because they're playful and fun. But if they're there, that means that there are snakes there. Because the snakes are, unless it's a completely
will
out of
get you.
control population. So like, you're sitting on the bank of a river and you're eating a granola bar and an almond falls on the ground.
Snake's gonna
Most
come
people
eat that.
won't eat that.
But you should at least pick it up.
Most people
and
will
put
leave
it
it
in your
there.
bag.
Yeah, you should at least just like put it in your bag because that feeds a rodent population that then feeds a snake population.
Nobody wants
And it's unhealthy for the animals to have, it's just not sustainable for them, like you're bolstering a population
that is not
that's not
able to
natural. Like it's not
handle that,
natural.
yeah.
Like if humans
Yeah.
are just consistently
Mhm.
putting trash
I agree.
into outdoor spaces, then it creates a demand for those products. And
that wouldn't live there.
the book I'm
otherwise.
reading right now called Animal Plant Junk. Right now, it's a book. I don't remember who the author is, but it's about looking at human history, conquest, colonialism, westward expansion of the United States, all these different things. It's looking at all of that through a lens of acquisition of arable land. In that, like we think about all these different, we think about Manifest Destiny as Americans just built railroads to get to the West. But in a massive way, it was conquest for arable land, meaning land that
Yeah.
can be farmed,
Mhm.
that hadn't been depleted from over farming.
Yeah.
And so this guy has really put a piece to me to show that, like, even the spice trade, we hear about the Silk Road.
Mhm.
Like back in middle school history, high school history, the Silk Road was about food.
Yeah.
The Silk Road, like it was called the Silk Road, and like that was part of it, but it was Europeans desiring salt,
The things that make our food tasty.
peppers,
Spices, yeah.
spices, pepper, like all of these,
Peppers or-
like no pepper,
like
like
black pepper.
peppercorn.
Mhm.
It drove all of
That
that.
was me twisting the pepper. shaker.
Grinding the pepper. It drove all of that, and it's an interesting lens to look at history through, because then we drive through all these agricultural spaces and we see immense amounts of dust, like on our trip this year,
Mhm.
dust tornadoes,
Yeah, it's really
people running their tractors, and it's just like kicking up so much dust. It's like, I don't think that land is
sad. Is
I don't think that
usable
land wants you
anymore,
to
let it
use
go.
it, And so I've been, especially in the last like 3 or 4 days, I've
Been
really
enough.
been on a heavy kick of what we're doing to the planet. And I guess we're going to end this podcast on a low note.
Sorry, guys.
We have about 30
Next year,
30
our podcast
years
will
of-
be about.
topsoil left in the United States.
Yeah, next year our podcast is going to be about like independent farming.
30 years
Aaron, that's really scary.
of topsoil left in the United States.
It's really scary and really sad.
And the fertilizers, the phosphorus and the potassium and the nitrogen, that's why when I was swimming in Diamond Lake today, I was like, I hope this is pollen. because I
You
was
should
watching a
hands
thing
off,
last night,
yeah.
and I had this realization that I grew up swimming the Shenandoah.
Ugh. Worst idea.
Right, and the reason that the Shenandoah is nasty is, yes, there is animal waste that flushes in there, but in a big way, it's the nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus that is used as fertilizers that
yeah.
when it goes into the rivers, you have these natural bacteria and algae that grows when it is given nutrients. So they're over fertilizing the land,
That makes sense.
and then it runs into the
Yeah.
rivers, and then it's like, oh, now we have very fertile algae blooms.
But that's not good.
No, it's not good for the long term. So like when you step on a slick rock,
Yeah.
and then it's like seeing some of the really like in Yosemite and all these places that are super
So
protected.
beautiful, so clean.
They're so clean. You're stepping on rocks and like your feet grip to
Yeah,
them.
you're like fine.
And I grew up
It doesn't stink.
I
at
grew up on the
all.
Shenandoah and like in college going down to the new
Oh, yeah, I've
river.
slipped on so many rocks.
And it's like, oh, this is what rivers are like. Rivers are just kind of slimy, and that's
Makes
part
me
of
hesitant
part
to
of
get in, like,
rivers.
our rivers at home.
They're far less clean than the rivers out here.
I know.
But it's not clean. It's not that it's unclean because of, I mean, yes, there's animal waste that gets washed through there,
Yeah.
but the biggest thing is the fertilizers that create these algae blooms. Algal, algae,
I
algal,
think it's algal.
algal,
But I'm actually not sure.
Algernon.
Okay.
I used to read Flowers for Algernon for my kids. You ever read that short story?
I think I have. I think you've read it to me. It's the guy on the TV and the.
Flowers for Algernon is a story about a guy with a mental disability that is used for an experiment, and he becomes a super genius, and then he becomes smarter than the researchers.
Okay, I haven't.
And then the you want me to
Should read
spoil it for you?
No, I want to read it. Don't
It's
spoil it.
really good.
Don't spoil it for the audience.
It's one of the greatest short stories ever
I
written,
would like to read it.
and it's a great conversation to have with kids, especially at the 8th and 9th grade level, because they're very cognizant. They're at a point now at that age where they're aware of, oh, Katie's smarter than Aaron,
Yeah.
or I'm not a math person, or, and so they have really, it's always really good conversation about, well, what does this mean? What does intelligence mean? And like, how do we operate in the world knowing that there's a variance of intelligence? Is that the bird?
It really does sound like he's singing Hot Cross Buns.
You guys can't hear this because these microphones are very directional.
His sound. You should record it so that Steven can help us.
But he's singing hot cross buns, hot cross buns, 1 a penny, 2 a penny, hot cross.
Well, no, he's just doing hot cross buns.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
All right, guys. Time for.
You think that was it? You just
Ron
need
soup.
you just need to let me go on like a 10-minute rant about climate change, and then we wrap.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, guys. But I feel like there's going to be a podcast.
Are you worried about
that's
climate change?
dedicated- I'm very worried about climate change.
In what way?
I am worried that it's happening, and it's happening very fast, and I'm concerned for like bringing children into
Mhm.
this space and like what that looks like, and if it's my duty to bring good people into the world that I will raise in a manner where they'll be very cognizant of this and want to help it, or if it's my duty not to bring children into the world that are going to have to suffer through something like this.
Yeah.
So it weighs extremely heavily on my mind
Yeah.
all of the time. Yeah,
We never really talk about climate change.
it's hard for me because like I know that it's happening, and like we do things to try to do our part, but obviously like we're doing things too where it's like we're driving across the country, like that's a lot
It's
of
not my.
gas.
It's not. This is the point that I've come to, is it's not my part to fix climate change.
Yeah, and I
It's
feel like-
industrialized agriculture, and it's the industrial
it's the
system
big picture
that needs to be revamped. I
And I
can change
feel-
as many light bulbs in my house as I want
Yeah.
to, but it means nothing
and I don't
when
know
it comes
when the
to.
big picture is going to change. Like just knowing general public and like you talk to people and it's not.
Think of how many jabronis we've met on the trip,
Yeah, it's
and like
just not in their
it's like
ethos. Like it's not.
they have no consideration of it.
Yeah. So it worries me that it's going
Even
to
we
get
were
to a
talking to
point-
somebody recently. I was like, that person was alluding to climate denial. I don't remember who it was and where it was, but I was like, oh, you're
Yeah.
like they like opened the door slightly for a conversation.
It's scary, and it's something where I don't like it makes me think about like decisions we're making for like the long term.
Mm-hmm. Like buying a house.
Like buying a house, and where do we buy a house?
Buy a house in the woods where there's a lake or a river or a creek.
Yeah, like do I want to be situated in an area?
You want to be high elevation, around trees, with a water source.
Yeah. And like learning like skills.
Yeah.
I don't
We
know.
got to learn how to farm.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And we got to store seeds.
And it freaks me out.
And I was thinking about it today. We need to be thinking about not only should we be thinking about just learning how to farm generally in a conventional sense of like, oh, not farming, but like gardening, like learning the basics of gardening.
Yeah.
But on top of that, we need to be aware of vegetables that are particularly durable when it comes to drought or excess rain. If we decide to stay in like the eastern deciduous forest of Appalachia,
and
we might
also,
get
like,
excessive
living
rain.
where we do, like, it's not a year-round.
It's not a year-round growing season, so we
Yeah.
have to like beef up on our canning capacity and learning how to can better. And I think that like the next decade could bring a lot of food insecurity for the entire
and that
world.
Really scares me.
It does scare me, but it also gives me I have faith that people have done this for 10,000 years. And so like I think the real tragedy of all that is going to come in when people realize like, oh, it's too late for me to learn how to figure out how to feed myself. But if we take the next 5 years and really like learn like what is it that we can do to make sure that we have water, food, and shelter.
Yeah.
What skills do we need to develop for that?
This will be another really long podcast.
So there it is.
So sad. Okay, guys. We'll leave you on a sad note. We promise we're not sad all the time.
No, we're very happy people.
We are.
I'm very happy to be doing this trip with you.
Happy to be doing this trip with you as well.
It's not so somber.
No. Yeah. I think part of it for me is balancing, like, how can I be happy in this moment, but also, like, be cognizant and aware of, like, where the world is going and, like, how can I, especially as I get older, like, I want to make sure, like, there's something to be said with, like, oh, I'm living in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also something to be said for, like, planning and preparation and, like, learning.
But also people that live close to the land live statistically happier lives.
I do like to live close to the land.
Like living as close to the land as
And I think
possible.
that we've spent a lot of time traveling. It's interesting to think, like, this was kind of like the big one.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done a lot of travel. Like, we have traveled.
Oh yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm not, the only thing I really want to do before we have a kid is travel internationally, like, once. And, like, I know there will be more of that, like, eventually as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I feel like I've done it. And I feel like I have experience to take with me into, like, the next chapter of my life. And it does feel like I'm ready for, like, a new...
To the next step.
Yeah. I just feel really bad about where our world is going. And it scares me. Because I do want to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I don't know if that's something that's selfish or not.
I don't think it's selfish to have kids.
I don't think it's selfish to have kids either. I just really worry about where we're headed.
I think it's important that people that are thoughtful, considerate, compassionate, loving, and adaptable, I think it's extraordinarily important that those people have kids right now.
Yeah. Speaking of dog mom. Okay, guys.
We got another one done.
Another
one in the
bites
books.
dust.
We weren't even going to podcast tonight.
Another one's gone.
I got to figure out how to post these things. We don't have reliable internet.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just recording these.
Bend is going to have really reliable internet, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So
We'll have to coffee shop and upload some stuff.
yeah, we can coffee
I
shop.
got to schedule these out. I got
like, we can either get into Bend and coffee shop before we hang out in Bend tomorrow. Because I think it's only like a 2.5 hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
So if we drove there, like as soon as we woke up, then we
Mhm.
could like coffee shop, lunch, that sort of thing.
Just kick it.
We just got paid, just got paid.
Just got paid.
But then we have 2 vacations on top of this vacation. So
Vacation on some vacations.
we can't spend all that money.
I love you, Katie.
I love you, babe.
All right.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
There it is, guys. Would have been nicer to end on a high note, but nonetheless, that's what we're thinking about. And while we're traveling around, chatting about all this climate change stuff, googly moogly, I don't know what to do. But yeah, follow along, man. We're still cruising. We're still doing our thing. Shoot me an email. Follow, subscribe, like, comment. The comments make a big difference when it comes to making this reachable for other people. So, take a minute, throw a comment in there. Hopefully it's a good one. If not, it's probably still good even if you throw a bad comment in there. If you're like, this is the worst podcast I've ever heard, it sucks, nobody listened to it. Algorithmically, it probably still benefits me. So, yeah, man, catch you guys on the next one.